From our friends at EntreFest. If you haven't signed up for EntreFest yet, the early bird the price goes up March 1st. So right now it's $199 for 3 days. EntreFest is May 20th through 22nd. So go to entrefest.com and check it out. And then,
What is EntreFest?
What is EntreFest? Geez, Taylor, everyone here should know what EntreFest is already. Anyways, EntreFest is a 3-day festival, conference, and summit that's being held in Iowa City this year. This will be our 8th year of doing EntreFest, where we'll have some educational topics, lots of networking. We'll have the Dream Big Grow Here pitch off and finals at EntreFest. So is that good enough for you? Is that quick? Yes, Lori?
Another feature that the Papa John's Centers are going to be sponsoring at EntreFest is you will compete, you'll present, do a pitch, and if you win, you automatically go to the second level of the business plan competition of that potential winning 25, 15, or 10,000, and one of the people will be guaranteed to the final round. So you'll kind of be fast-tracked in that business plan competition, which is pretty exciting, and that potential of getting that money compliments of Papa John to help seed your businesses. So with that decision was just made, I don't even think it's out there to the public.
Well,
so
it is now.
First here. You heard it first here.
So then the next thing is we've got Bar Camp coming up on Saturday. It's here in this building. So Bar Camp is an unconference where you can come, we'll get you some breakfast, get you some coffee, we'll get you lunch, and then there's sessions throughout the day where it's pretty much wide open when you get here, and you can be like, I want to talk about how much Kevin is attractive. You can put that up on the board. And you knew I couldn't get through this without coming after you, Kevin. So you can have any sessions. We'll have tracks: creative, entrepreneur, business. That you can come. You can post your own topic. You can attend. A lot of networking, learning from each other, doing some peer learning. So that's $5, and that's Saturday. Still have plenty of time to register. You can show up at the door and register. But that'll be here in this building.
What time?
That is from 9 to 1.
8:30.
First session starts at 9:30, and the last session starts at 12:30, then we'll have lunch afterwards. But registration opens at 8:30, so you're not wrong, you're just not all the way right. And then lastly, March 5th, we're going to be doing a pitch and grow up here in Cedar Falls. So Pitch and Grow is a partnership with Technology Association of Iowa, and we're going to have 12 people come and pitch. They can either pitch a business development pitch, an investment pitch, or a sales pitch to a panel of judges and then an audience, and they can get feedback on their pitch. More on the technical side of pitching, where this is maybe more the idea. So Pitch and Grow is March 5th. You can go and search for that to apply to present. Trevor will be presenting there already. He's confirmed. So good for him. Soren, I want you to go to apply.
Yep.
Michael Keevan, I want you to go apply to pitch at Pitch and Grow. So that's enough of me, because you don't come here to listen to me talk. So this morning we've got Blake Rupe from REAP. So let's give her a warm Cedar Valley welcome.
Standing before I finish. Awesome. Okay. I'll start my timer over because I can be quite verbose. Hold on. All right. So, I spent last summer in Veracruz, Mexico, conducting research for my master's thesis on garbage in the Gulf region. So when I was there, I saw scenes like this every single day. Literally tons of garbage washing in and out to sea. I became fascinated by this garbage problem, but when I returned back to the United States, I thought I was finished with it. But lo and behold, when I got back, I realized we have that garbage problem here. It's just here we see it in places like landfills and incinerators. So at this point, I became what you would call obsessed about this garbage problem. I couldn't stop researching it, and I wanted to know more. Most importantly, I wanted to know how big of a problem this was. So when I started doing research into how much of this garbage is out there, I discovered that based on the value of all of those materials in the recycling market today, we have thrown away $31.4 trillion in the past 50 years. That's stuff in an industry that wants to make them into t-shirts, park benches, and roads, just to name a few. And that's a huge number. That's twice the US national debt of stuff. So I became even more fascinated, if it was possible, about this problem. So I wanted to see not only how this is happening, this giant leak of money, but then also more importantly, how can we stop it? How can we solve this problem? So I kept doing what I'd been doing, and I followed the money. What I discovered was that the recycling industry and producers of materials, they make or save billions of dollars every year from recycling. But you and I, the recyclers, the people doing the recycling, we're just doing it out of the goodness of our own hearts. And after doing all of this research, I realized this is where the problem is. This is the bottleneck in the whole recycling system, us, the recyclers. There's no incentive for anybody to go and do this process, besides just feeling good and warm on the inside. So that is how I came up with the first idea for version 1 of. So what ReApp was a way to test whether people would want a recycling app. So what we allowed people to do was create a recycling bin digitally. So every time they recycled something or reused an item, they would go in and catalog it in the app. And then at the end, they competed against their friends and peers to see who could recycle the most, who could be the most green. We were excited to see that people were really receptive to this idea, but we knew that it wasn't perfect and that we could build it bigger and better. So then, what we decided to do was to develop our next version, which we've rebranded this week under a new name called Sift. So what Sift is the first mobile community that lets people be positively reinforced to be more sustainable. So not just recycling and reusing, but composting, riding your bike, things like that. So what we do is we let people, through their green actions, social pressure, competition, and rewards, we let people be rewarded for being more green. So how it works, this next version, is we let people catalog their actions in the same way as they did before, for reusing, recycling, and composting. They do this by either barcode scanning the items that they're reusing or recycling, or manually typing in the actions that they're doing. Then, at certain points within the app, our users are rewarded with $3 off their next trip to Target, free song downloads, just for doing the things that they're doing every day to live more sustainably, in the hope that getting rewarded for it makes them do one more action each day. But on top of that, people then become part of a local, regional, and national conversation about living more sustainably, where they can chat with each other about where they recycled a television ad because someone may have 15 in their basement that they're wanting to get rid of. So the way that we planned out this reward system is we've developed a partnership with Keep, who's the biggest rewards platform for the mobile space. So what they do is they have an entire rewards platform already developed. All we have to do is put Keep inside of our app, and our users are automatically rewarded for the actions that they're doing every single day. And the rewards that we're offering are from brands that people want, like Target and Whole Foods, for example. But also, good news for us is that Keep becomes the first way in which we can monetize our application. So what Keep does is it works as a referral service for brands. So for each reward that is redeemed by our users, Keep pays us 50 cents per reward as a referral to that brand. Keep has a 72% redemption rate and a 68% engagement rate for their rewards, meaning that the users that are getting these rewards are engaged with the app, so they keep using it and keep getting rewards, but then they also redeem them often. But we're also developing other ways to monetize this application. And the most interesting for us is the data that we're collecting. because this isn't data that's able to be collected in any way today at all. So what we're collecting, just imagine, we're having people scan barcodes and catalog items that they're throwing away. So what we're able to do is collect information about waste patterns, recycling patterns, as well as product life cycles and consumer behavior in ways that have not been able to be collected before. So we're planning to capitalize on this information in several ways, using models that already exist in other places today. So for example, we have Strava, which is a bicycling app that lets you track your bike patterns in urban areas. And what they do is they sell their data to cities who want to know where people bike so they can make better bike paths for people. So what they've done is they've been able to take data and sell it to people, to municipalities. So we're looking at the model that they've created. And then we're also looking at the Recycle Bank model, which works on a partnership level with municipalities as well, just for different examples. But we know that to obtain a user base, we need to work with partners to help market our app for us. So one way we're doing that is by working with municipalities who have all of the recyclers in their areas. They have them right there. So what we're doing is we're having municipalities, like the ones you see here, for example, market our app for us by getting their customers, their recyclers, onto our app platform in order to increase recycling rates within their municipalities. We're not asking them to sign any contracts. We're not asking them to pay anything. They're just being motivated to get people on our app for us. And it's been pretty successful so far. So we're going to keep doing this and ramping this up over the next couple months. But in the next 12 months, what we're excited about is that we don't know where we're going. And that's kind of exciting and scary at the same time. But what we're doing right now is we're building version 2, which is Sift, the Sift platform with Keep inside. And then as soon as we launch this in the next week, we're going to begin working on building our own rewards platform so we don't have to go through Keep. So we can build relationships with the brands that we want to partner with and then offer those rewards to our users without having to split referral fees with Keep. So we get more profit and have the brands that we really want to work with. But from there, we're still figuring out where we want to go based on how this naturally evolves. One way which we can go is moving into the hardware space by building smart recycling bins and smart garbage cans that sync the data automatically with our application to take that burden off of our users. Or we can keep building into the sustainability space and build an app that combines all of your sustainability data from your Nest, from your Strava, from your Sift, all in one place to really give you an overall look of your carbon footprint. So we're looking at where we can go in those places, and this year we'll really build that up. And I know that we're the team to continue building this platform and really, really grow. I'm a conservationist turned entrepreneur. I have a master's degree in garbage, so I know this industry really well. But I've also built up a team of design interface experts as well as coders that are just as passionate about what they do. But I've also developed an advisory board to build the business side of this up because that's not my strong suit. And I have people on this from Lemonly, which is one of the best graphic design firms in the Midwest, as well as Coca-Cola, Apple, Renewable Energy Trust, helping me build this forward. And from there, I will open it up to questions, if you have any that I've mentioned.
I have
Yes.
a full list.
Oh, yay, great.
My husband actually builds garbage trucks, so I
Oh,
know
whoa.
this industry pretty good.
That's awesome.
So one thing I was thinking of when you're looking at building your own reward platforms,
Yes.
are you targeting people who are already considered B Corps?
Mm-hmm.
Because that would make sense.
Yep, because we are,
Partner
yeah,
with them.
yep, because we're a B Corp, so
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna partner
We'll
with
go
them.
after that
Mhm.
market.
Yep.
And what about like the Blue Zone initiative? Are you working with that at all?
No, I'm not, but that is.
Mhm.
Let me grab this pick really quick. That's a really good idea. I'll forget it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
That's a really good idea.
Again, you know, I mean, that's so big here in Iowa.
Yeah, it really is.
That if you could somehow partner with that. The other thing is, are you aware of the swap grants that are out there
Mhm.
available
Yep.
for reducing? So I would think that this would be
Mhm.
something that would qualify for that because
Yep.
you're wanting to reduce the volume in landfills.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so-
I've been working with a couple people in Des Moines, the state level, on the swap grants.
I know someone who wrote a successful one.
Who? Who is that? That's you?
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Brian Hoyer.
You may want to ask him what he does too.
Hey, Brian Hoyer, what do you do?
What's that?
What do you do?
I have Right Environmental, Recycle Right.
Oh, yeah.
We've met before.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Huh. No recycling. Cool, okay. We need, yeah.
With the recyclers, are you working with any of them to somehow get some money back from them for referring people to them or anything like that, or any kind of?
Do you mean the like recycling companies?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so we're working right now. So we have a long-term plan for these, like the municipalities, the private recycling companies that we're working with. So we have a long-term plan that we've started. When the first step is building the relationship where we ask them to go for no cost, no hassle to them, just to promote the app and get more people on it for us, in the hopes that it increases recycling rates. But then we hope to, when we develop the reward system, we hope to bring them in at a deeper level with that. And then when we build our hardware system, or if we go the sustainability route, we're hoping to expand on those relationships and make them more lucrative for us as we go. So we have a long-term plan with that. So we're building the groundwork for that.
One of the incentives for me would be like if I used your app, maybe I get a discount for recycling through this company.
Exactly.
And that sort of thing.
Yeah, and another one we're working at, so that's the private recycling companies that we're thinking of that with, but then like municipalities, we're thinking if you could get 20% off of some bill, like your water bill or your garbage collection, because of your actions and stuff. They're already doing this in Seattle in a different way, but they're requiring their garbage trucks to do all of the data collection and the
I mean, that would be great if you get
policing.
that going. I've always felt that we've had a poor way to recycle here in the city, for Cedar Falls, for example, or even probably Waterloo. I'd like to just set it out at the curb instead of having to go to all these different places to recycle. And I still want to recycle.
Exactly. Yeah. Call Brian.
You can do that, Tom. I'll get you set up real quick.
Yeah, the biggest.
He'll deliver the bin this
I'll get the bin guy personally.
It's like the biggest scapegoat in the entire waste industry has been that there's no data to support anything really. So the whole industry is based on tonnage, and if you think about it, 10 tons of plastic 10 years ago when water bottles were 60 times thicker, tonnage was a lot different than it is today. So it doesn't capture the volume that's being collected. So what we want to do is fill in the knowledge gaps that exist and hold more people accountable for that. And so yeah.
Do you see any potential for like a marketplace of these recycled goods, for example? I know my sister's an artist here, and one time she was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was something that got recycled and she needed 1,000 of them. I mean, it would seemingly be good if you could, swap some of these recycled goods instead of sending them to the landfill.
Yeah. So we're testing in this new version where we made a news feed, and so we're testing whether people want to communicate with each other about it. So we think it'd be really cool if that ends up being successful. It's something people use and want to use. That we build up that newsfeed communication platform so that people really can be like, oh hey, I have, like an interesting story I just read was United Airlines revamped a bunch of their planes and they wanted to add new seats because their seats were old, but the seats were made of leather. So they gave all of the seats to this company in Seattle who made them into backpacks that looked awesome, and that they sold out in 10 minutes on their website. So having a way for people who have those things to find people who want to make them, we want to build that up too. So yeah, absolutely.
You see that a lot with cars. They're looking for
Yep.
that, because there was just a call that went out at you and I, they were looking for 1,000 of something or whatever, I can't remember what it was, but an email went out.
Bubble wrap.
Bubble wrap, yeah, they were looking for bubble wrap, for a project, so.
Without buying new.
Yeah, so if there's some way, because that stuff just does.
It does, it goes
Throw
straight.
into the dumpster.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Can be reused.
how to do that exchange
Mhm.
in an intelligent way, yeah.
Yep.
As you're
That's a good
thinking of
question.
other questions, there are feedback forms on the
Yeah.
table. I forgot to tell you at the beginning, so please take some time. Give Blake other feedback
Yeah,
on
super
there as
helpful.
well. Comments are better than throwing in the stars. Other
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, I'm pitching like 3 times a week, so any kind of feedback that can make this enjoyable for the future, let me know.
Can you touch on how you're validating? I know it's kind of a...
Yeah, so we did a lot with the first version of validating. We it's kind of all it was like, will people even use this? So that was putting it out there and then getting the users on it and then going back to them. So the way we did the first one was we made everyone sign in on Facebook because it's easy as a developer and also we can find you. So I just cold called and messaged all of the people that were the top users on the first one and just asked them, their favorite parts about it, the worst parts about it, how can we make it better. And then for this one, we took all of that, built what we thought would be the next step in line with that. And then, so for this next version, we're doing a lot more pre-work than I did first time around. So I talked a little bit about this last night, but the first version was just me and the developers, and those were the only people that were involved in any of it, which is good and bad in that I was much more confident putting it out because I was just like, nobody's telling me anything. But then, so for this version, what we're doing is we're doing 3 different beta versions before, and we're doing 4 tests of each beta version before we even launch the beta version. So a lot of that before, and then, so like I've mentioned, we're adding features that we think are the next step, and then we're going to be figuring out if people use them, want them, like them, or hate them. And then from there, when we build the next version, we build our own rewards platform. Hopefully we can take away what people don't want. So,
Makes sense. Thanks.
yeah, absolutely. Good question. There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of, again, while we're young, but working with schools,
Mhm.
so many kids with this.
Yeah, so that's one thing I didn't think about. I don't have children, and I never thought, there's a lot of recycling apps out there for kids that are games. So I didn't want to go into that space at all. But then I launched it, and it turned out that some of my biggest users were using it with their children because their kids like to go on and push the buttons, like find what it was, plastic bottle, yay, you recycle. So having them dupe that, it was really engaging for the children. And it made me realize that kids like the game part of it, but not that it's the game really. So like, it's the feeling they get from the accomplishment of doing it. And so what we ended up finding was that they liked doing it with the actual act of recycling instead of just the passive game that's, yay, put the milk carton in the recycle bin and then that's it. But put the milk carton in the recycle bin and then put the milk carton in the recycle bin. They really like those 2 things together and it really stuck. So what we want to do, what we're doing now is we have 3 schools, 2 in Cedar Rapids and 1 in Des Moines, that want to do a pilot program for like a month-long Earth Day project where they have an education part of it that goes with, this is recycling, this is what it is, and then also having an iPad in the classroom where every time someone recycles something, they do the act of it on the phone. So yeah, they love it. It's something I didn't think would work, and then it did.
It also becomes habit.
Exactly. Exactly. It builds up that good habit
Sorry.
and
The
knowledge.
first version of React was iOS only, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So is this, these other ones going to be with Android?
Yeah, so we're doing Android and iOS for this version, for Sift version 1. And then we might do a Windows one. We're not too crazy about that. And then I've had 2 people ask for BlackBerry, and I'm like, no. Not do BlackBerry. Like, no, just no, flat out no. First no I've ever said, absolutely not. But yeah, Android and iOS.
Are you local here, or you said you had schools in Cedar Rapids? Or something?
No, so I'm in Cedar Rapids. I work in Cedar Rapids and live in Iowa City.
Have you worked with any of the programs next door to CEEE
No.
with their, okay.
Oh wait, that's the
Environmental-
CEE.
Environmental Energy Education?
I feel like I've emailed them before.
Okay.
It's very familiar.
They're just right next door, that
I
might be.
might walk over there.
And I think they do.
It's right in my
I
email.
don't know if anybody in the room can help refresh my memory, but I think, don't they do a whole day thing, the CEEE with all their green stuff, or they've had conferences in the past or something?
Yeah, there's a sustainability conference coming up, I know,
Uh-huh.
and I can talk to this.
Find out, yeah. And that, because it's usually a pretty big thing, that would be worth you know, you could have a booth set up or whatever to
Yeah.
create that awareness. And they
And
also do a lot of programs with schools. So again, there may be some good connections there for you to get that out in some other schools.
Yeah, and we're also doing, so I did 1 million cups in Sioux Falls, South Dakota last week, and there's a guy there who runs a business of maybe 5,000 employees, something like that, in 20 different buildings, and they want to do sort of the same thing with schools, where they get, you know, different people, but doing it in a workplace where you can get people to compete against each other to be more sustainable, be more green. So we might be setting up pilots, not just in schools, but then also go to enterprise and do some workplace stuff.
Have you been working with Iowa's JPEG as well, I'm assuming?
It's mostly through them. It's been mostly just connections, like who do you know? What JPEG does mostly is with university students, and I sadly, as of May, graduated. So yeah, some of their things aren't available for me, but the people who work there know a lot of people who have Denera.
you worked with Joseph Salonik at all?
I have not.
So he specifies in environmental entrepreneurship on their staff, so definitely talk to him.
Solenic.
I can get you his information.
Yes, please. Cool. Any other questions?
Have you worked with any companies that, say, for example, maybe Coca-Cola or Pepsi that might want to rebrand the app?
Yeah. So the Jeff, who's on my advisory board, who works for Coca-Cola, is their sustainable brand manager. And so the first conversations I had with them was him being interested in buying it and rebranding it. But that was in June. And so it was intriguing to have that happen, but then also it would be very much cornered. It would be the pop bottle market would be the only thing that, or you know, aluminum cans also, really the only thing that they would focus on promoting the sustainable recycling of. But so I wanted to build something and bring in more than just that small segment. But it's definitely possible. And I've also had some other brands and some municipalities want to, what we call white label it, which is, you know, just put their brand name all over it to try, you know, to push it out to their people. So it's one thing that's in the back of our minds, like if, you know, we put this new version out there and people aren't receptive to it as much, then we can go back and readdress those. But yeah.
Are there many states that don't have redemption on their cans?
Yeah, so it's only, there's only
Maybe
8,
7 or
something
8.
like
That
that,
do or don't?
that do. Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
whatever those states that are listed on the can that's.
Yeah, literally, that's it. It's like 7 or 8.
Maybe they don't just do you crush your cans, and then
Yes.
it's by the weight that you get paid.
They
So
get
you
paid
might be able to fill in the
because that's what they
gap.
do.
People,
Yeah.
they don't give money back, or at least they feel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's kind of the model we wanted to do was model it after the can redemption, people getting rewarded, because here, in Iowa, we recycle 3 times as much, not just of aluminum, but of everything, because we do get paid for aluminum, you know, if you take them back, and plastic bottles too. It's like, people get recycling more when they get rewarded to do it, and they understand the point, and it becomes a habit with everything and not just the things you get paid for. So the model we've had, the psychological model we're using, is people being rewarded will make you do more in other areas too.
Right, so you're in a state where people are rewarded. Is there a neighboring state that you?
Illinois.
Kind of, okay,
Yeah, we recycle 3 times as they do.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter for them because they have a lot of land. They can just keep building landfills farther and farther out of Chicago. But you know, that won't last long.
Yeah, I was also wondering if, could you kind of do like a swap thing? I mean, other than just, you know, things that are hard to get rid of, things like batteries, like certain light bulbs, you know, you have to pay to get rid of a few bucks usually.
Yep.
That if people recycle, you know, that could maybe be covered, I mean, some kind of swap out.
Yeah, so I've been talking a lot with some businesses that have kind of like those niche recycling markets, like auto recycling, battery recycling, things like that, motor oil recycling. Things are like more toxic, but more profitable once you get them recycled. Working with them about getting the word out there about their services, but then also there's a lot of municipalities who offer recycling of those things for free, but people just don't know about it. There's a huge communication kind of problem with a lot of that. So what we want to do also is we'll have the eyeballs of everyone who wants to recycle, become sustainable, be green, so we can become that communication source also with like pop-up messages and say, oh hey, in your location tomorrow is free recycling of refrigerators at this location. So we can hopefully move there too.
Really helpful.
Yeah.
Seems like it's always, you have the store of crap that you hold on to. Crap.
For a year.
Exactly.
Waiting for the day and then you miss the day.
Exactly. I have like, exactly. Yep. I have like 4 iPods that if I would just take them to Best Buy, but I just won't. But yeah, most people don't know they can. Yeah.
Public health, environment,
Yes.
Department of Justice. I'm thinking that there are opportunities even with federal government.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the municipalities, but there are all of those. The prison system has probably a umpteenth of recyclables. Public health in terms of just the messaging about recycling itself is a good public health kind of thing. And so I don't know if that's making sense. But
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, I've been working a lot with Keep America Beautiful, which is the national organization that promotes recycling and reusing. About like working together on it. So yeah, it's just harder at the Fed level. Like it's hard enough with municipalities. It takes 6 weeks
It's
to
one of
get
those
anything
elements
approved.
that you have to,
Imagine the federal government. There's
Yes.
9 more people that have to approve something. But that's kind of where we differ from our competitors, is that we don't make anybody sign anything. We just say, oh yeah, just promote this. It's no big deal. Doesn't cost you a thing. And so they get that. That's a week turnaround as compared to other models where it's, hey, if you sign this contract and pay us $5,000 a year, blah blah blah.
So how would this work with cruise ships?
Cruise ships. There's something I have not thought about. Cruise ships.
that's
That's
an
a
excellent idea.
yeah. How do you mean? That's
Well, I don't know, but they've been dumping everything.
they have very much so.
In the oceans, and besides the tsunamis and everything that are making junk,
Yep.
cruise ships are making junk.
It's a really good question.
So back to that question, I just attended a workshop with Iowa Department of Transportation, and they were talking about their what is it called? DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And so if you know about Department of Transportation, they cover everything from airway to waterways to highways to, air, land, sea,
Air, land,
everything. So back to that idea of what do they do on cruise ships? Where do they put their stuff? I don't
They
know.
throw right now they throw it away.
So there's an incentive
ocean.
there. There's an appeal there to make to, again, the federal government about a partnership. I don't know how it looks, but it's one of those future things to kind of think about.
Yeah, and one thing we're adding in the next version that I'm really excited about is, so we let people catalog, in this one, reuse, recycle, compost. We want to add one next time that's trash. It's like where people are and they can't recycle something and they have to throw it away. Catalog that so that we can build up a database and hold more people accountable for, like, for example, McDonald's, their biggest argument is if you're in our building, like, all of our stuff is totally recyclable, but just not in our building. And it's up to you to dispose of it properly, not us. So what we want to do is we want to take it to McDonald's and be like, oh, look, all of this stuff, this 2 million tons or whatever, to hold them more accountable. So it'd be interesting to see that on cruise ships also, be like, on these cruise ships, for example, this is what people aren't recycling and they could be.
National parks and campgrounds.
Yeah, I looked into that.
Any other questions? Anything?
I have
Go ahead, Matt, you go.
just out of curiosity,
Mhm.
through your studies, how much of garbage is recyclable? Is there a percentage?
Yeah, it's like 70%.
Wow.
Yeah, 70 to 80%. And that's not compost, not food, which is another
I think
another
that's
huge
massive
portion.
right there.
Yeah, which is another huge portion.
I
And then Yeah. And then from there, reusable or recyclable. And then
Is that how much is actually recycled, or is that the percentage that is able to be recycled?
is able to be.
Okay,
How much
that's-
is 32%, and it's been 32% for 12 years straight. It's not going up. So yeah, so like, not very much of it is getting disposed of properly. What? Yep, there's a big market there. There's a lot of people who want to make it better, so.
I was just gonna say, Alyssa Milton is watching the live stream, and she said she loves the enterprise.
Oh, hey.
Enterprise ideas.
Thanks. Is she still there?
Yeah.
Thank you. Enterprise idea, yeah, that's where, yeah. Next 3 weeks, I'm building that up. Thank you, Alyssa. Feel better. Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Anything else? All right, so one last question that Blake, one you get asked every week.
Yep.
What can the community do to help Sift go to the next level?
Yeah, so like what I mentioned yesterday is the biggest thing that you could ever do for any startup is just use it. Or if you can't use it, tell someone you know who can or knows someone who will. Spread the word. So when we launch in the next, we're doing beta next week, so you can't use it then, but in 3 weeks when we launch post-beta, download it, use it, tell friends about it.
So when did you first launch? The very
This
first
this version, June 3rd,
The first
for
version.
re-app, and it's still on the App Store. You can still download that today.
So June 3rd.
And then we stopped, so we promoted it through September. So I was in the Iowa Startup Accelerator. So we are on the App Store, but we promoted it from June to September. And then we stopped promoting it because we don't want people to download this one anymore since we're building this new one. So yeah, but you can still download it.
What was that date, sorry?
June 3rd, 2014.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
So next week we've got Russell with Smart Soxy Socks is going to be presenting.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Is he here?
Soxy Socks. He's not here.
Socks?
Yeah.
What is that though?
Come next week and find out. See?
There it is. Yeah, it is.
I'll collect your feedback sheets and we'll get those to Blake. So if you haven't filled one out, take a few minutes to fill it out. And then everybody, thanks for coming. We can say thanks to Jed for bringing us Sidecar Coffee, which is really great. So thank you for that. Otherwise, we've got more coffee. We've got the room for another 20 minutes. Stay, hang out. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.